afternoon to all of you. First of all, I'd like to apologize for coming late. Beyond control, the flight got delayed and then diverted it to Hyderabad. So maybe that they wanted to eat away our time of interaction. Anyway, never late in, it's good to be here. I am going to give a brief overview of the geospatial scenario in the country from National Mapping Agency perspective and tell you what all initiatives we have taken and in what direction we are going, and definitely I would like to learn from all of you also that what all more needs to be done. That is more important for me to know what is the expectation of the younger scientists. Survey of India is the National Mapping Agency. It was established in 1767. We have already completed 252 years and running 253rd. So it means the importance of the surveying and mapping was very well acknowledged right 250 years ago also and even now also. And it will continue to maintain its status because it provides a foundation database for all planning, development, or whether it's national security or any activity. Now, a national map policy was promulgated in 2005. And mandate to Survey of India was given to produce, maintain and disseminate the national topographical database of the whole country, which is the foundation of all. Two series of maps were announced, Defense series of map and the Open series map. Defense series was basically meant for the defense forces and Open series map was meant for public domain. These were the five main objectives which were given. National Spatial Reference Frame, National Digital Elevation Model, National Topographical Template, Administrative Boundaries, Toponym, that is a place name, and capacity building. So I'll focus on only these mandates only. Now, National Spatial Reference Frame. We all know that coordinates are in terms of X, Y, and Z. X, Y, that is the position on surface of the earth, and Z is the height. We call it as a height above mean sea level or the ellipsoidal height, that is for from GPS point of view, and orthometric height from the surveying point of view. Now this XY we need to have a datum. So in 2005 we switched over from average datum to the WZ84 datum. That time what we had great trigonometrical survey stations, GTS stations, which were established from 1802 till 1850. And then we transformed them by taking observation into WZ84 datum. Now all these stations were all passive stations. Means today if you want to find your position, you can use DGPS by going for the absolute positioning by taking a very long observation of 72 hours. But that's not going to, because this is not the way that you have to densify your control. It is very time taking. Then other method is that we occupy two known stations, two known points, and then with that reference we calculate our own position where we are working. And this is also time consuming because these are all passive stations, they don't talk to you. So you have to go visit them, observe yourself, do the computation, and this is how you find your position. Now what we are going to do, we have already started establishing this continuous operating reference station network. This is called geodetic infrastructure. Like we have our mobile towers. On our mobile phone, on the move, we continue to get our signals and we continue to talk. Similarly, this continuous operating reference station network will be a kind of network which will be transmitting its position. Around the country, we'll be having around 750 to 800 stations. And once there are four stations, and within the four stations, virtual network is created. So these 4 stations, they continuously keep observing their position 24/7, and they are transmitting their position to the control center, and any user who has got a rover with him, not DGPS, any rover, will communicate with the control center, and within fraction of seconds or a minute, he will get his position accurate to 2 to 3 centimeters, which is very good for most of the engineering projects, except where tectonic movements are being seen, or any precise dam deformation studies. For other than that, it will meet most of the requirements. So now this will reduce the cost, this is reducing the time, and at the same time it is enabling people to use geospatial technology. I'll give 1 or 2 examples. Like in India, we all own land or house. And I don't know whether many of you or your parents must have faced this difficulty, that land records are not updated. They were prepared till 1905, prepared by Survey of India, then it was given to states. But due to various reasons, these have never been updated. Never. Because it's a very tedious and time consuming process. Earlier there used to be a big plot, that big plot has been subdivided and sold into small plots. Now who will go and measure on ground? There are lakhs and lakhs. In fact, I was talking to Maharashtra government, they have 3 crores tippans. So same will be the state of affairs in Karnataka. Smaller states may have less number, but if you see the overall India size, so it will be definitely in maybe 60, 70 crores. So how do we handle them? If we don't introduce technology, if we don't facilitate ease of working for the surveyors on ground, because if he has to measure, he has to take total station for one measurement. Now with this technology, he just needs to go only one person with a rover and a tab in his hand with complete data, and wherever he keeps, the measurements is recorded online with accuracy of 2 to 3 centimeters. So this is going to bring a lot of revolution as far as the geospatial science is concerned. So this geodetic infrastructure is very important and very critical, and I am happy to announce that we have already started establishing network in the state of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, part of Uttarakhand, and others are in pipeline. I am sure by 2020 and most of the India will be covered, because states have also realized that this is something they need and they want to work. And we are there to do the hand holding with them, because ultimately somebody has to manage. They can also do on their own. Some have tried also, like Tamil Nadu has tried on its own. But the problem is, who will look after this network? Who will maintain it? And who will advise? People will keep on changing. So there has to be a professional body who will manage the complete affairs of CORS network. So this is one important milestone which we are going to have in India. Most of the countries have already gone, but still they are in the process, and it's never late. So we are also in the process, and I'm sure by this year end we'll have the complete process of CORS network. Now coming to the vertical datum. We had, Survey of India had announced a vertical datum in 1909. That is almost 110 years ago. After that, a lot of tectonic activities have taken place, earthquakes, various other activities, disasters, tsunami, you name anything, and it has happened in last century. So most of the benchmarks were either destroyed, damaged, because a lot of development activities taking place. So we took a conscious decision that why not we, generally all countries they do after 20, 30 years. It's a routine, but somehow we have missed it because our size is also big. and somehow the importance of the jet was lost in between. So what we did in 2018, it was a continuous process. We have redefined our vertical datum. You'll be surprised to know that if you start leveling work from west coast and take it to the east coast, there is a difference of almost 80 centimeters. So it means only measuring coastline will not help us. We need to have a datum. In loose terms, we call it mean sea level. So what we did, we carried out observation on 4 ports on the east side and 4 ports on the west side. And Survey of India has also been maintaining tide gauges. We get data from 44 ports, some of the foreign ports also. And for last 150 years, we have been maintaining it, and data is being received. So this data was also being used along with the gravity observations and the high precision leveling network. So based on the zero potential value, we have redefined our vertical datum, and we have also established a relationship with reference to the world datum also. So it means now we have a systematic height control framework in the country, which will also act as a part of the geodetic infrastructure. Now the challenge is that this, based on this vertical datum, we need to take heights up to the last mile. For this, again, we have already done more than 80,000 linear kilometers of high precision leveling using digital levels. It's a very time consuming process. One detachment needs minimum 6 persons. So it means a lot of resources are required to complete this task. So we have already finished in Uttarakhand, part of Uttarakhand, UP, Bihar, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Haryana, Karnataka. So these states we have already finished high precision leveling, and using this high precision leveling and gravity values, we have been able to determine a geoidal model for these areas. In India, we never had any absolute gravimeter. Some institutions they had, but they were all fixed at one place. And whatever gravity observation we were doing, this was based on some foreign port which we had brought to India in 50 years ago. So now in 2018, we have purchased a absolute gravimeter also and few relative gravimeters, so that we undertake systematic gravity observation in the country. Like people, they say that EGM 2008 is very accurate. They are all extrapolations. There are a lot of gravity undulations within the country. If you go towards J&K side, Leh side, you will find it is in circles. It is not straight, the gravity. So if you don't have the gravity value, then definitely in Himalayan belts, it is changing very fast. So that's why most of the heights which are computed from using EGM, they go wrong. So now, based on this vertical datum, we have planned to spread this vertical network by constructing new benchmarks, establishing new benchmarks, high precision. Then further, once we have a geoidal model, then this leveling for any project work is eliminated. We have already tested this geoidal model in UP, and we achieved out of 10 points, 9 points were better than 5 centimeters, 1 point was 8 centimeters. So it means 95% we can achieve better than 5 centimeters if we have gravity along with the high precision leveling and this geoidal model. Now people who use like any highway project, you need a very accurate level line. So people undertake lot of leveling is being taken from where they are starting, where they are closing, nobody knows. But with this geoidal model, you like any GPS will give you ellipsoidal height, and this ellipsoidal height can be converted into orthometric height using this geoidal model. So now we have started working on how to serve this geoidal model to various users based on their requirements, based on their needs, because everybody doesn't need very high precision height, very accurate heights. Some may need even 50 centimeters, some may need even 5 centimeters. For cities, we need very accurate, because most of the cities, we keep hearing in news that this city is flooded, this city is flooded. Basically, the drainage plans of these cities are missing. I did one project of Delhi state in 2008 to 2012. The last master drainage plan draft was prepared in 1976. I don't know what is the situation now. Till 2012, it was nowhere. So then we approached IIT Delhi, the civil engineering department in geoinformatics. I said, why don't you take up this task? Give it to some of your IIT students and prepare and submit a draft master drainage plan for the Delhi. So is the case with most of the cities, because height is neglected and nobody knows where the construction is going to take place. Most of the colonies are now built on the drainage pattern. This is where the water is blocked and the cities are flooded. So we need to educate our people, our colleagues in the state who are responsible for the town and country planning, that this is a very important aspect which should not be neglected, because the water will flow as per the gravity. You can pump water supply, but the sewerage and the natural water, rainwater will flow as per the gravity and as per the slope. So these are the two very important factors which we have undertaken as part of the geospatial infrastructure. One is the geodetic infrastructure, that is converting all passive stations into active stations by way of continuous operating reference stations, and second is running high precision line. Before I took over, Nepal wanted to remeasure the height of Everest. So they were going ahead. So I met in one of the border meetings with the DG Nepal survey. I said, you are saying that your Everest site is now disturbed after the earthquake of I think 2014 or 15. And so is your all benchmarks. So how do you say that from where you are going to remeasure your height? What is your starting point? So then he didn't know. So then we helped them. We brought our high precision level line up to the border. And then from border, they took on, and they have already done the observation. And hopefully, by this year, they will be able to announce height of Everest. It's a very interesting case. Survey of India first computed the height of Everest in 1856. And best part was that none of the surveyors of the Survey of India visited that place. And since then, it is undisputed. Only Survey of India revised in 1956. And other countries have done lot of studies, lot of measurements, but they have not been able to establish. So that is the kind of precision where Survey of India has been working, and we want to re-establish the same thing for the country now. So that was part of the National Spatial Reference Framework. Next is National Topographical Template. We had coverage of entire India on 1:50,000 scale. In fact, from 1980 onwards, we had stopped working on 1:50,000 scale. We switched over to 25,000. But that time, because of the technological constraints and the resources available, it took much longer time to complete the country on 25,000 scale. When the new map policy was announced in 2005, so we had a challenge that which scale we should serve the country, which covers the entire country, so that seamless activities can be, seamless data can be made available. So then we had no other option but to revive our 50,000 scale, which was updated quickly, and the new series of map, Open Series map and Defense Series map, have been rolled out on 50,000 scale. But the demand had been that right from 2010, Mr. Mukund Rao is very much part of those activities. We were working very closely to bring out at least 10,000 scale maps. A lot of initiatives were taken, work was done, but somehow we were not able to deliver. In fact, we never even started. So now the challenge comes that how do we map the entire country on 1:10,000 scale. So what we decided now, and we have already initiated action, and maps have started coming out, going for the field validation. We are using now sub-meter imagery, mono as well as stereo both. So it is giving us positional accuracy of 1.5 meters and vertical, say, 1 meter. Around 8 lakh square kilometer, that is 1/4 of the country, we have already finished. See, what we do in Survey of India, we procure imagery, then send our people on ground for providing ground control points. Though all the service providers, they claim accuracy, but they are out by 10 meters, 8 to 10 meters. For some application it is okay, but when we as a national mapping agency prepare a map, it is kind of a legal document also. Even now also in various court cases, our maps are taken as authentic. So it means we have a responsibility to make sure that accuracy and authenticity of the map is maintained. So we know we are not in a position to take even 1% chance to leave anything. So it means the people go on ground, they do the ground control point positioning, provision, then it is georeference. First we do the ortho rectification. It's a very interesting thing, because most of the service providers, they say that we will give you ortho rectified image, not the georeference, but ortho rectified and some positioning. And this ortho, for undertaking ortho rectification, you need digital elevation model. Now for India, because of some reason or other, they have some digital elevation model, but which is not very accurate. So when we bought raw imagery and we carried out the ortho rectification, the sharpness was better and the positional accuracy was also better. So we take raw imagery, do ortho rectification on our own using our digital elevation model, then send people on ground, do the ground control provisioning, bring it back, then carry out the rectification, georeferencing. Then we take up the feature extraction. Once this feature extraction is done, then we again send our people on ground for field validation. Once the field validated data comes, again it is integrated into the topographical database, and then map making starts, printing of maps. So this is a complete process which defines how a map is prepared. So you can imagine the kind of ground visits we have to do and none of the ground visits can be avoided unless again we start using the technology and we bring in. That also we have already started working, how to eliminate ground visits. So we have already done for Varanasi and Allahabad. This Kumbh area was there, Kumbh area when Kumbh was being organized last year in November, December at Allahabad. So we got 15 days time our secretary went for the meeting of the secretaries and he committed, no, 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 3D maps we can make. Then he comes and asks me, can we make it? I said, yes, we can make it in 2 days. Because by the time we had already acquired drones, and we took exactly 2 days to map that area and delivered the high resolution map of 5 centimeter GSD and 20 centimeter vertical control. Along with that, what we did, the streets were mapped with a 360-degree panoramic camera, which captures 6 images. Again, it is geocoded, and you can correlate this with your 2D map. So it means you know where your camera is, which part of the city is capturing. We had to use walking because there were some lanes where you cannot take any vehicle, then motorcycle, car, and the banks were captured using boats. So now we are trying to capture annotation or attributes from this image, because now I have evidence in front of me. Nobody can say, no, this hospital is not there. On records, it may not be a school, but on ground, it is a school. So now this evidence-based attribute collection also we are going to start, because manually anything we do takes a lot of time, and nobody is there to wait nowadays. Everybody wants a very accurate and updated map yesterday. And if we talk of 1 month later, nobody is ready to wait for that. So these are the new techniques and technologies which we are trying to bring in. Then the land record which I was talking, there was a National Land Record Modernization Program in 2008 announced by the government. Later on the name was changed to DLRMP, Digital India Land Record Modernization Program. In that the specifications were given that for rural area, accuracy, positional accuracy or accuracy, horizontal accuracy should be 20 centimeters. And for urban areas, it should be 10 centimeters. Now, how do we achieve this? If we start using aerial photograph, again, there is a long process of flying permissions, and very few professionals to handle that. Some even went to use satellite imagery, which is not correct, because if you use 50 centimeter resolution accurate imagery, then you don't achieve the desired results. So somehow this program got scrapped. It didn't complete even one district in the country. Gujarat did using total station, but then there was a lot of hue and cry because 50% of the parcels were missing, because then there is no evidence to prove. So we had been working on this for quite some time. So when this drone thing came, we carried out pilots with the few state governments. We prepared a map and gave it to them that you check it the way you want. They undertook measurements using total station, GPS, tape measurement, and they found that yes, accuracy of the image was better than 5 centimeters, and the positional accuracy of the map or that features is 10 centimeters, irrespective of rural or urban. Because if we are flying at a height of 120 meters, whether we like it or not, we will get this accuracy. And this is the permissible height given by the DGCA. So based on that, we have been able to start this mapping using drone. First we started in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Haryana, and now all states are in line, because they have realized that this is the only technology which can give them the desired results. Very interesting case study. In villages we have two kinds of land. One is the agricultural land and second is Abadi land. In the past, more importance was being given to the agricultural land because revenue was coming from there. Right from Raja Todarmal, the revenue was coming from the agricultural land. And this Abadi area was somewhere the Banjar land where no cultivation could be done, so people were allowed to construct the houses. So in some states it is known as Abadi area, in some states it is known as Lal Dora, in north generally it is called Lal Dora. Since independence, or you can say till date, no mapping of this area has been done, except in the state of West Bengal, because they had done complete survey of the West Bengal, Assam and Orissa. No other state in the country has done mapping for these areas. It means people living in those areas are just occupants. They cannot take loan, they cannot sell house, they cannot buy house. It is all on purchase system. And they all have been put under the Panchayati Raj system. So when we did one pilot in Maharashtra, Sonari village, so based on that, the government of Maharashtra gave titles to these villages. Mark my word, titles have been given by the government. If we purchase any flat or any land, it is based on a registered deed. That registered deed is between two individuals. Government only registers that deed. There is no guarantee the same plot can be sold 10 times also. But if a title is given, then it is his property, nobody else can sell that unless he desires it. So there is a big difference between title and deed. And we have been successfully able to implement this title in one village. Similarly, we did in Haryana. 26 January, that is 3 days after, the CM, Honorable CM is going to give titles to the villages or the village. Now, this is going to have a long-term impact on the economy also. Direct impact on the citizen who are living there and indirect impact on the Indian economy also, because now they'll be able to take loan to send their children for higher studies. So these are the success stories of the new technology and new processes where we have been able to deliver the desired accuracy. Some states now they want drone to be flown every 3 months so that illegal encroachments, constructions can also be monitored. And slowly we'll be moving in that direction. In the world itself, nowhere a project of this magnitude has been undertaken using drones. Because there are so many constraints of the weather, rain, but we never stopped working. Like in Survey of India, we used to work till April. And then the summer starts and the rainy season, then our team again go after October. But last 2 years, our teams have been working throughout the year, because like this high precision line is a massive task. If I tell somebody that I'll take 4 years, people will give me cold shoulder, okay, they'll say thank you, because they don't realize the direct impact of this. So we convinced our people, motivated them, whether it's a 40 degree, 50 degree, still they were working. Like Rajasthan is very difficult. Then in rains, they used to wait, let the rain stop, again carry on with the work. Drone flying, except in high windy situation, but we have been continuously flying. There are challenges now in India. We have to comply with all the policy guidelines, but we have been successfully able to do that. Now the Ministry of Panchayati Raj has also asked us to support the rest of the states. Another important activity which we have done is rejuvenation of the springs. Springs are very important source of water in hilly areas, because rivers are down below, very difficult to pump drinking water. So the springs are the main source of water in Himalayan belt. 12 states are covering this Himalayan belt. Because of some reason or other, the springs have been they have been dried up or damaged due to again some construction activity in their catchment area, or because of any other reason, or because of neglect. So we did use LiDAR on drone. So far it was only aerial platform based, and the results were fantastic. We were able to spot everything under, because in hilly area means the tree coverage is bound to be there. So how do we find out these? So there is a government of India has already started thinking, Niti Aayog, to work out a major program for spring regeneration of 12 Himalayan states. So it means the complete area will be covered either using LiDAR, either aerial platform or maybe drone. So these are the few important exercise or use of the geospatial technology which we have undertaken recently are really very exciting. And the future of maps, geospatial and the maps is very bright. Only thing that we need to make sure that we are able to deliver accurate, updated and authentic data, which is very critical, because otherwise the agencies, they lose trust and they are not inclined to use that data. So there is a big challenge. India is a big country, developing very fast, and this kind of infrastructure needs to be expedited and taken by all of you. Some of you may be the users, some of you may be the data generator, but please keep these aspects in mind when you talk of a map, with a right disclaimer every data product. I don't say that, there are large number of applications where accuracy of data is not important. But it doesn't mean that it will replace the basic topographical database of the country. So we should be very clear at the decision making level what data I am using, and it should not be extrapolated to be used for anything. My sincere advice to all of you would be that administrative boundary is one of our mandate. We map from village till international boundaries, and we have been successfully doing that. This coastline also, there are some new things which have been added. Demarcation of the hazard line along the Indian coast, that has also been mandated to Survey of India by Ministry of Environment and Forest. Similarly, for disaster management also we have been. Toponym is one of the important activity which we undertake, and which people believe that it can come out of anything. The geographical place name, they are not only place name, they represent the culture and history of that place also. World over, great importance is assigned to this, like this Everest name. Why this peak was named Everest, when all other surrounding peaks, they have their own Nanda Top, Kardungla, any local names are there, but why this was named as Everest? Because somehow this was not discovered by even locals also, and nobody knew that this is the highest. While calculating only, Survey of India realized that this is the highest peak. So then generally the naming is done. So when Sir George Everest retired, then his predecessor, when he took over, and then he submitted the proposal to the government of British government, Royal Government, that this peak should be named after Everest. So there was a protest from British ambassador at Nepal, but he couldn't prove that what should be the name of the Everest. So then this is how the Everest name was accepted. But generally these names are local names based on the history and culture of that area. But now slowly and slowly we are losing that touch in India. Now it is God city, Amarpali city. These are the cities, this is how it is coming. But we need to educate our town planners also that the local name should be given equal importance, because the history and culture of that place is achieved by keeping the place name appropriate to the these two things. Digital elevation model, we already have a 3-meter vertical arena, but for some part of the, like the Ganga Basin river, we are already doing LiDAR mapping, and we are generating 50 centimeter accurate vertical digital elevation model. We are part of the Namami Gange program also, and the National Hydrology Project also. So under that, a lot of activities are being taken. It's a massive, say about 70,000 square kilometer area is being covered using LiDAR, and the rest other states are following one after the other. So this is all these 5 major components, they form the National Topographical Database. I think most of you would be knowing what is the Organization of Survey of India. We are spread across the country, and this is how the India is covered. So if you see the last one, 1:10,000 scale, 1,30,000 maps will cover India on 1:10,000 scale. So if we have to go for printing of these maps, then is a challenge. And what we are doing now, not only topographical maps, we are started rolling out image maps also. Like we already have sub-meter resolution imagery. So as per the National Remote Sensing Policy, any imagery which is lower than 1 meter can be made into public, can be put in public domain. So we have this sub-meter imagery. This we will use for defense series map. We'll resample it, make it 1 meter, and roll out for the public. So people who are not able to afford imagery can start using our image maps very shortly. In a month or 2 months time, we'll roll out this series, and slowly we'll start giving on priority. So this image maps also is going to be one of the important product for from Survey of India, because map making, I told you, is a long process, field validation. So until as I complete that cycle, it's not possible to bring out map, but the image map based on spheroid annotation and the contours, that image map can also serve immediate purpose of many agencies. I think 0.8 meter resolution and 1 meter resolution is a good product. So as far as I am concerned, this was the gist of my talk, that where we are heading, what are the new technologies in the field of surveying and mapping, and what we are doing for the country. So I'll be very happy if any doubts or questions are there, because I've been eating away your lunch time also. Yeah.
Sir, you mentioned about the very high resolution digital elevation model. So can we procure it from the Survey of India for
See, as per the Survey of India is the agency who prepares the products, and Ministry of Defence is the agency who regulates it. Even the National Remote Sensing Policy, which says 1 meter, again it is coming from the security agencies, keeping in mind the security aspects of the country. So now you may require very high resolution. I don't know for what project you need, but if you come through state government, you can. But as an individual, I doubt whether we can give you this or not. But if you come through any state government or any local body, any urban local body, we'll be very happy to share with you. And one thing more very important I'd like to announce here, that Survey of India has done away with the pricing of the digital data. We used to sell this data, now we don't sell this data. We make this data available to our users through different means. One, we have already launched a public portal, indiamaps.gov.in, and we will be in a process of updating. To begin with, it is not very exciting and very interesting if you compare with other agencies in this field, but together we can make it great for India. So that one public portal, indiamaps.gov.in, where we are already providing some tools for the users to do their value addition and keep it with you. You don't have to share with us anything. But there are certain tools which are available where some limited functions can be carried out by any user. Then we have also launched a G2G portal, government to government portal, which we are giving access more than what is given in the India portal. Somewhere in between Defense Series Map and Open Series Map. So more information is available on G2G. Any agency can write to us. We will give authorized user ID and login to them, and within their organization they can use to any extent. Again, the same thing is there, that we are providing certain tools where you don't have to buy expensive software to do your basic work. But if you want to go for advanced analytics, then you have to have your own system. But there we sign an MOA, because if we are making things available free of cost, we want all agencies to contribute what is common. There's certain information may be only specific to your organization, but if there is a common item which other agencies can also use, so that information we would like to get it back from you. After due authentication, it will be incorporated into the database. Then one more thing which we have done is we have launched a mobile app called Sahyog. It's a kind of crowdsourcing, but the data comes to our server. It is available on Google Play Store, Sahyog Server of India. So with this, any place you are standing, just open your application, click a picture, write about that, whether it's a restaurant, hotel, PVR, hospital, school, shop, just press a button and this information will come to us. We get it vetted from security agencies. The classified information is used in DSM and others are in OSM. Best part is that some of the international agencies have also joined hand with us, because they were finding it difficult to get unclassified data, and somehow or other they were getting on the wrong side of the regulations. So they are also helping us. So I'll request each one of you sitting here to contribute, and we need your Sahyog in the national building by capturing data. Tell your friends, tell your relatives, and we all need to contribute so that tomorrow you will be the beneficiary when you start using our portal, and a lot of information is available on that. So this is way that you have to contribute and we'll serve it back to you. So this is the two things which you are doing. Any other questions?
Can we have that OSM map for restricted area?
When you say, yes, OSM map for restricted area is available but without contours, and if it is touching international boundary which has not been settled, international boundary which has not been settled, there is no OSM for that, because that boundary itself is secret. Like in case of China, part of Nepal full and Myanmar. Pakistan, most of the area except the J&K we are settled. With Bangladesh we have settled complete boundary. OSMs are available. OSMs are available. Wherever the boundary has been settled, OSMs are available and you can get it.
Actually, recently GSI have acquired that 4,300 OSM sheets from SI. So now we have project just near to the boundary, Bangladesh boundary. So we don't have that 2 topo sheet area.
Please write to us, we'll give you. We'll give you. Madam has taken a lead by standing, so so you are all left behind. You have the mic also, editor.
Sir, I want to know when you are sharing from government to government, so you are sharing the image in the native format or GeoTIFF or it's
GeoTIFF.
only GeoTIFF?
There is no raw data.
No raw
I am providing you a service, what you are supposed to get through a map, the same information I am servicing it to you.
And what is,
On a web system, yes.
what is the temporal resolution, sir? What is,
Very embarrassing question. The image we have the latest.
Okay.
Image like we have recently purchased of 2019 also. So image, what we are doing, we are buying image, current images, but the attribute information, I told you that there is a long process. So the maps and the vector data and vector data, even digitized data is updated. but validated is not.
Okay, but 2019 image is available.
Image, we are going to load now.
Okay.
So it's just got over and we are in the process of, see, we are using, in some cases, we are using open source tile server also, let me tell you. To begin with, we started using commercial softwares, but slowly and slowly our aim is to move towards open software and make India totally independent of other international softwares.
Sir, regarding the availability of digital data, you said the India Maps portal you're making available to everybody, but users can't download the digital data. Even the administrative boundary, there's no
The user means you,
public user.
as a public user, see, actually public user, they don't need to download the data.
So as an individual researcher or a
If you are researcher, write to us, we will support you. See, the entire India is not researcher. So researchers have to come into different category. If you write to us, we'll see which area you are asking and what information you are asking. We'll be very happy to share with you. But if it is for commercial use, then would like to share the revenue also.
Regarding
Madam.
the administrative boundaries, up to which level do you have the data and on what date?
Yes, we have up to village boundary level because that is the lowest subunit administrative unit. And in some states, there is no concept of village boundary or tehsil boundary, like in case of Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur, and part of Assam. But most of the country, they have the system of village boundary. And in 2019 itself, we have done this latest exercise and this is updated. Except in case of Telangana. Telangana, what they have done, they have created 22 districts. And in the notification, they have even transferred some villages from A to B and even divided the villages. So they have not been able to figure out where they are. So we have no updated village boundary database of Telangana because of the recent administrative reorganization.
Okay, sir, can we get this vector files for the consumption use?
Yes.
Like administrative boundary, because we want to use it in our portal. So, can it be used for the
See, nowadays, my advice would be that don't take data, take service. Because Mr. Mukund will vouch with me, we were part of a very ambitious project of the government, NUIS. It was a wonderful project. We carried out mapping on 2000 scale, very accurate mapping, high precision. NRSC also did, we also did. When we supplied this data, the people that time who were planning, everybody will get transferred out. The new set of people come. Now they don't know how to handle this, so they sealed it and put it in almirahs. And every new person came and they handed over the CD to them. And in between, even handing over process also got lost. So now, last year we got a request from Ministry of Urban Development that can we get this NUS data back? Then we can give you, but it's all outdated now. Because in most of the schemes, updation is not built into. Because if this data of any town, I give you 10 years old, would like to really use it for your planning purpose? No. So don't take any data, because if I give you this village boundary, if you're 2019, but now we are continuously working on this. Tomorrow some more states will get, take a service. You also have a portal, we are also now capable of giving service. So take service. And we are not going to charge anything for that service. But my sincere advice to all of will be, stop buying data, stop taking data, start using the services. We'll work with you, whatever you need, we'll serve it to you based on the security consideration. But we are open to give you the service, don't take the data. Especially the government departments should work very closely towards each other. This was the concept in 2005 of NSDI, but it failed. Because people are not willing to adopt new process. Everybody wants to stick to this, his domain. Nobody is going to take my, let me tell you, 252 years, we are still alive. Now we have given maps to everyone. So it means that expertise and domain knowledge of a agency, nobody can take over, if we are able to deliver in a efficient and good way. So we must share.
Thank you so much.
We are talking about the services, but we need the same file of the district and also state. preparing the rainfall statistics or any given forecast for the any sub-district level or district level.
Use cases, why not take it? Because if you are publishing something, it has to be like the Forest Survey of India, they publish a annual report. So in annual report, you need data, so we'll give you.
So government to government portal, so you will give it as a free or by cost?
We don't charge anything, only handling charges we take 10%. That's all. If you take the data from us, no money. It's a big change.
Actually, promotion of drone for the mapping, that is well understood, but actually due to the drone use, inter-border and the cross-border, the threats are going to be happen. So having a restriction of use of the drone,
That is not only drone, even the aircraft is not permitted to fly. We are doing National Hydrology Project, and we have to map the tributaries of Ganga, and some tributaries are very close to the border. So MOD has said, stay away from this. So why only drone? For any activity, they will keep you away from the border. You need to convince and talk to people that what kind of permissions are required, who is flying. See, drone, like if you go through the CAR 2.0, once the digital sky comes up, so every sensitive information, whether it is a civil or defense, nobody will be able to allow it to fly 3 to 5 kilometers near to that. If you really see, there are a lot of restrictions. But we as a national mapping agency, our duty is to map each and every inch of the country. So and this is how, then these activities cannot be outsourced. We have to do on our own. So we have to go with the rules of the law of the land. Where is the problem? Use different technology, different processes everywhere. Wherever the A problem is there, find out B solution. But mapping must continue. We are doing for the defense installations also within that. Yeah. Pardon?
Any confidentiality is involved by answer, so kindly do not answer. My question is, why are we doing survey on Arctic and Antarctic regions?
Pardon?
Why are we doing survey in Arctic and Antarctic regions?
This is obvious question. See, I'll tell you. That was no man's land. Like moon. As on today, why we are sending mission to the moon? Because every country wants to have some supremacy, number one. And if others can capture, why not me? Because tomorrow you don't know how the technology is changing. We see, when initially 252 years ago, nobody knew, and we started the Great Trigonometrical Survey. People didn't know where they are moving, through thick forest everywhere. But now every place has become important. The Run of Kutch, they used to be borders, no man's land, that nobody is occupying these areas. The border was not a thin line. Border used to be the big piece of land in between two countries. But again it is shrinking. So as a nation, I think it's a right step. Science, a lot of science, of course. I didn't want to go into those aspects. You need to undertake.
Please, from CSAC, you want to suggest something,
uh,
sort of recommending policy. Today, we know all the things which you mentioned. It's okay, I think we can get the money. So, we have a DSM and OSM as per the national policy. We know the technology that has happened, drone, this, that, and all those things. CSAC wants to suggest to Survey of India that we will be happy to work on you to create a new series of map called CSM. This should be Citizen Service Map. Like you have an open series map, Citizen Series Map. Fully generated by citizens, fully populated by citizens, fully created by citizens, fully used by citizens. So we should design a system by which we use the expertise of Survey of India, which has got tremendous survey and capability. But Survey of India anchors a Citizen Series Map, which is a totally open series generated by citizens, created by citizens, utilized by citizens, but only thing is maintained by Survey of India because it has to be under a national series. So in which case, while the defense series map will help the defense agencies and so on, open series map will be a much more technical document for authoritative application. Citizen series map can be something which any citizen can use for whatever purpose he wants. It can be as simple as deciding for his child's school or for locating some bus stand or whatever on the whole thing. So So we want to suggest this, and I propose this idea that we discuss it out, and if it's acceptable to you, we would like to sort of discuss this Survey of India and see how we can come out with a proposal. And this can be done in about a year or two with the type of technology that we have, the people, experts that are available in India, and the mapping knowledge that we have, open series satellites, the images that are available. So we do everything which is open, which has no restriction on the whole thing. The only restriction we will have to cover is your boundary, because that is something that we can't touch. So if we use a boundary, within that boundary, any mapping to be done, any feature to be put should come from citizens. They can use satellite image, Sentinel, Landsat, which is in public domain, IRS data, whatever on the whole thing, which will also give Survey of India a fantastic product to say, here is one series which is totally open and made without any restriction, fully available to anybody, updated by citizens with crowdsourcing, all the technologies that are required. There is an open series which is an authoritative document, which whoever wants has to go through a process, and a defense series which is under this one. So I want to propose this third series, CSM.
It's a great idea, but let me tell you, partially we have also already started thinking on this, like this Sahyog app. Whatever data comes, now the only challenge, if we leave everything to the citizen, knowingly or unknowingly, if defense areas are put into this, because there are certain, not only defense, I said civil also and defense also. There is a civil VAV list, VP list also, and defense also. And a common man sometimes unknowingly, I will not say knowingly, nobody does. Unknowingly also they click some pictures and upload it, or say now this is my citizen map. The fear is only this, because we are in such a geographical location where we need to protect our civil VAVPs also equally, and the defense also.
I think such
So
features
this-
can be removed.
No,
You
that's
have
what I'm
a
saying.
system by which it can
That's
be
what-
removed.
that's
Whatever
what-
is possible, put it on the citizen.
Very
map.
true, very
You
true.
be the vetter for that.
So this, when Sahyog data is coming to us, so we are immediately filtering it. The unclassified data is put back onto the public portal, because it's coming from citizen. Without validating, we are saying that this data has been collected by the citizen without validation. Once we send our teams, this data will also be sent along with them, so that it helps them also in validating the maps. So we are in the process, but to name it as a citizen is a great idea, and we'll discuss how to.
Just to add one point, what you mentioned is perfect. But what happens is Sahyog today takes features from citizens, that's very good, that is achieved. But it goes on to an open series map, and open series map has
No, it doesn't go.
for access.
See,
So the access should be totally citizen oriented. You can have a screening process. Okay, 100 features have come into the citizen series map, 20 of them not allowed, 80 of them are allowed. All these 80 features can be accessed on the whole thing. We should work on a system by which citizens should be able to engage
I agree
in the
with you.
overall mapping activity.
I agree with you.
That will make Survey of India also more closer to citizens and make it friendly and bring benefit back to Survey of India itself. And it's a great citizen activity for the nation. Maybe we
Whatever data is there, this is put on India public portal, not on OSM,
Yeah.
public portal. So directly or indirectly, in any case they can use, but we'll work out how more effectively citizen can use, like you are mentioning. So we'll work out we'll sit with you and take this idea forward.
One solution, there is already a very thriving mapping community in India, OpenStreetMap, enthusiastic mappers, they are knowledgeable, there's a huge community. I think we should definitely work with that community, because there are citizens who are interested in mapping. There's already a great base map that's been done through OSM. I think plugging into that community, bringing it and having the expertise of Survey of India, vetting process in this map, I think there will be a great
The main here challenge is with us is the vetting process, which we are willing to take responsibility.
should do automatic
Yes.
for that.
No, this where this course should give us some. That's why I thought I have come here to learn also, because we are clueless as far as these words are concerned. So if we can bring in the artificial intelligence into this system, so then automatically it will filter out, and we don't have to wait for manual screening to take place. Yes. Please take the mic, because you are asking very important question of land records. Yes, here only.
I have recording doubt about land records, sir. Land records now it became a all digital records. When it became a digital records, ownership details are not correct, sir. Like recently we have faced some problem. My father is a farmer. He is having some piece of land in my village. but that land belongs to some other person in same village. That problem how we can solve?
See, this is where there's now what program we have initiated. See, these are not digital records. They are all computerized records. All records have been computerized and without doing proper georeferencing. See, the old village records, they had no lat long. They had no system. They had their own rectangular system. Now to bring that into the geospatial on a very accurate one, why only your father, most of us have faced this problem. Because nobody, if the Patwari says, this is your land, you have no other option but to believe. Based on records, if you think that somebody can decipher that record and find out where his land is.
Yeah, actually, sir, recently we have faced one problem in my village.
But we are trying to resolve this. We are working very closely with the state governments and accurate georeferencing and bringing the high resolution maps with evidence will definitely help all the farmers.
Yes, sir, but some people are like, this land is my name.
Don't worry on that.
Yeah.
We'll resolve it.
But they are occupying
We are
lands and
determined to resolve it.
they're occupying and they're like, this now land record is in my name, they're digging the lands and everything.
Don't worry. No, it will get resolved. Maybe another 2-3 years down the line, because now the state governments are very serious. They want to do this. 2-3 years in our judicial system is nothing. No, we have started from December constructing. For 220, we have already placed the order and civil work has already started. So I think the target is next 3 months, by March, we should be having around 200 CRS stations in the state of Karnataka, Maharashtra and Uttarakhand and UP. Can we continue during lunch break?